Hello everyone. Today is Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. It is just before 10:30 in the morning, and I believe that the Lord told me to speak in tongues just now. And He gave me a very brief personal message. But I asked Him if this applied to other people. And I believe He said yes. And I believe He gave me permission to, in a sense, make an announcement. This is pertaining to the single people. And this is pertaining to the homeless people. This is what Father God Yahweh said to me. Your desires for home and husband are before me. There are few left. You may have to persevere alone. And that's all He said, 3 sentences. Now, last year, in 2022, I believe it was around September, October, there was a channel that I, at the time, was promoting called A Heart of Prayers. And that person came out with a message, and that message was that if people did not start coming into alignment and stop not coming into alignment, in general, generally speaking, with God's will, that many people would be left alone to fend for themselves, so to speak. And this resonated with me very much because repeatedly people have not come into alignment with the Lord's will regarding kingdom marriage, regarding ministry, regarding safe havens, etc., regarding even just friendship. And now here we are in May of 2023 now. And at this point, I personally have experienced the Lord ordaining 5 different men to be my kingdom husband, and all of them have screwed up in one way or another and failed His testing. Because God does use everything for the good of those who love Him and are called to His purpose. And so even when we sin, even when we make a mistake, He uses it somehow, some way for good. So even with the first guy back in 2020, when I told him my dream and told him that I believed that I was his wife when I wasn't supposed to, God still used that as a test for him to see whether or not he was going to seek the Lord's will and submit to it or not. That was the first guy. I'm not going to go through each one. I don't think the Lord really wants me to, but I'm just using that as an example. But I have been preaching for, over a year and a half now in general about how people are not coming into alignment. People are taking offense to every little petty thing. People are using and justifying any little petty thing to part ways with people, etc. And there are just certain things that the Lord is telling me anyway. I can't speak on behalf of anyone else, but I know that there are certain things that, particularly regarding kingdom marriage anyway, that the Lord has said, okay, once this person has failed the test, that's it. They're permanently disqualified. And even with ministry and building a safe haven, there was one person in particular where the Lord and I kept giving this person opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to come into alignment, and they repeatedly did not do so. So I asked the Lord for permission to come on here and just make this announcement that this is where we are at, okay? This is where we are at. This is where things are at in the kingdom. It's very sobering, very grave. Now, yes, I did create a timeline in Excel, and I do believe that the age ends at Feast of Trumpets 2028. That's when the Lord will return. Yeshua will return. And I do believe that the two witnesses, I currently do believe that the two witnesses will be killed, resurrected, and ascend, like right around or just before the halfway point, shall we say, which I believe is Passover, I think, of 2025. It'll be the first quarter of 2025. And so I believe that we have, obviously less than 2 years out from that demarcation of time. Now, I'm currently kind of trying to figure out the whole situation with the two witnesses and the 144,000, because I was believing that the two witnesses were a subcategory, and lately I think the Lord has been telling me that they're not, and so I'm still trying to figure all that out with God, and if I have to come on here and correct myself, I will. But I'm not going to do so until I get a straight answer from Him, and right now it's just been... There's a few topics that I have kind of like somewhat on the shelf, and they're just overwhelming and frustrating, and so bear with me. But, if I need to come on here and correct myself, I absolutely will. But I just wanted to make the single people aware, the homeless people aware, that unfortunately the Lord Himself is now saying that because so many people have not come into alignment and aren't coming into alignment, we may have to fend for ourselves. We may be going it alone. That's not His will. It wasn't His will. It's not His will. But this is where we're at. This is where we're at. It's very, very upsetting. This last ordained husband that was sent my way just a few weeks ago, we were already making plans. He was going to provide housing and all this, and then the Lord gave him a directive and told him to do something, and he just refused to do it. He was a coward. His decision was cowardly, and because of that, the Lord said, that's it. And on top of it, he ended up disrespecting me, and so the Lord said, that's it. You're not moving forward with this person. And so here I am, and I'm thankful for what I do have. I know there's people out there that have it worse than me. I'm thankful for what I have. But anyway, I just wanted to make the single people and the homeless people aware that this is where we're at. It's very upsetting. It's very demoralizing. But as Yeshua told us, we must persevere, we must overcome, and we will get our crown. So that's the exhortation, is to just remember to persevere, to overcome, to lean on Him for your strength. And the ultimate hope that we have is being in heaven, being in the new earth when all evil has been eliminated. Where there will be no more sickness, no more struggling, no more crying. And we won't even remember this age. So, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I'd rather you be aware of the truth, of the reality, so that you can start trying to cope with it now before it really, slaps you in the face. So I'm not speaking anything over anyone. I'm just relaying what the Lord told me. Let me read it to you again. This is what he said to me personally. Your desires for home and husband are before me. There are few left. You may have to persevere alone. Which is what I've been doing all this time anyway, pretty much. Right? It's what we've been doing all along anyway, pretty much. So the Lord is just making us aware that the reality that we've been dealing with may continue to be the reality in the future. So let that be a guiding line for your prayer life. As always, you should be asking him what his will is and what you should be doing. I know there are certain things that the Lord has had me doing in general and even recently to start preparing to, just continue to live transiently and continue to live with less literal baggage in the natural. To live more simply, more minimally, more efficiently. I guess I'll just go ahead and say it. The Lord blessed me recently, and he told me to go ahead and finally order myself a laptop. And I am preparing that and getting that ready so that I can do ministry easier on the channel, and also so I can start doing sessions with people. And that's going to free up a lot of space in my crammed little car, because right now for almost 2 years now, I have been loading and unloading a desktop computer tower box, a desktop computer monitor box, and then I've been using one of my own waste baskets to carry all the cables and the speakers and the mouse pad and all that stuff. And so this will enable me to put those things in my storage unit and have a little bit more space in my car and be able to just function more efficiently. So, and what's interesting is, I stocked up on a lot of stuff. Back in 2020, which may or may not have been the Lord's will. But lately, what he's been telling me, since at least last year, is to stop stocking up. Don't be stocking up on anything. But to be, basically just be ready to just be able to move around physically as easily as possible. So that's what the Lord's been telling me. I'm just sharing that with you. You take it back to him. You ask him what applies to you, what does not apply to you, and what his will is, and come into alignment with it. I bless you all in the name of Yeshua the Christ of Nazareth.